Hi there, it's Donna from Taffy Crafting, and I'm going to be using today the Whimsy and Wonder designer series paper from Stampin' Up. I put a video out on Monday the 19th at 7 a.m. UK time showing all of the new papers that are in the new mini catalogue, which goes live at the beginning of August. So if you want to see the full range of these, I've left a link to the video in the in the description bar. So today, the theme for our Share It on a Sunday with Crafty Karen Designs and Vicky Lou Designs is Christmas in July. And that's why I'm using this paper. And I think this is really unusual Christmas paper. And I think if you want to send some unusual cards for Christmas or something really colourful and really pretty, this is the paper to go for. So I'm going to make a couple of cards with this. So I've pre-prepared a few things. So the first thing I'm going to do is take, who would have thought we'd be making cards out of Blushing Bride pink cardstock, but that's what I've got here. And I've got a piece of cardstock that measures 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Now I got these measurements from a crafter, she's an American crafter called Buckeye Inklings, and I really liked this style of card, so thank you very much for your inspiration, Buckeye Inklings. And I have made score marks along the long side at 2 inches, 3 1/8, 5 3/8, and at 6.5. Now these two outer score lines need to be folded inwards like that and inwards like that, so you get your bone folder. Now tell me in the comments if you craft along with me while you do this. Always keep the keep my commentary nice and slow so that people can craft along with me, and I'd love to know if you are. Somebody left a comment on one of my YouTube videos from about 6 months ago and said that they craft along with me, and I'm always worried that I spend perhaps too much time explaining things, but actually people seem to really like that. So thank you everybody that leaves comments saying that they prefer me to go slower than to whiz through. Where was I? Yes, so they fold in, and then these two inner score lines fold outwards. So you're just going to push them up like that and burnish that, and the same with this one. You just push it up, fold it over. So that is your basic design. So when the card is received and they take it out of the envelope, it can just sit like that. And the size of this, widthways, I've put my ruler down, I've actually put it away, goodness me, in the envelope will be 4 inches by 5.5. So a standard envelope size, and it sits like that. You could use that as a card base for any card, any type of card whatsoever, and just decorate it how you want to. This middle section, you'll need some DSP that measures 2 inches by 5.25. Or what you could do is put maybe a gold or a silver layer behind it, and they would measure, what would that measure? Right, no, I'm going to measure it. Don't guess it, Donna. Don't guess it. So if that's 2 1/4, then that would measure 2 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then you could put this on top, which would then measure, this measures 2 inches by 5 1/4. Okay, if you want to do that. I'm not going to do that because I want to just save a little bit of time, otherwise this video would be super long. And I've been very careful how I cut up this paper to make sure that I got as many whole baubles on there as possible. So make sure it's the right way up before I stick it down. And then just a little quick manoeuvre to get it in place before that glue sets. It is an incredibly hot day today, really, really hot. I've got the fan going absolutely balmy next to me here, trying to keep me cool. And my glue is setting in literally a second. So I probably could have pushed that up a little bit further, but it is what it is now. So that goes in the middle, and then I've got these two. Now these are the reverse of that DSP that I was using, and this is Misty Moonlight with some stars. You see that, with some stars, some Christmas trees, and some sort of shape thing there. But I just love blue and pink together. I think it's a really nice combo. So I've stuck with something relatively plain just for that. And again, you might want to put a gold border behind those. So these measure 1 3/4 by 5 1/4, but you could put a gold or a silver layer behind it, and that would be 1 7/8 by 5 3/8. I think I've got that right. So I'm just going to stick that in there. I think this would really stand out, a card like this, if you sent it. You know, traditional Christmas cards are, you know, they're red, white and green, or you get the really sparkly ones with snowflakes and the bright coloured ones with the baubles. This is just something a little bit different, and it will stand out on any mantelpiece, I think. Lots of lovely colours, so even if you have a limited amount of colour in your craft stash, you're likely to match to something. Even if you just got pinks, if you haven't actually got Blushing Bride, it doesn't matter. I've also got a bit of polished pink in there as well, if you have the new in colours. I'll leave the link to my blog in the description bar, and on there has all of the details with regard to measurements and products, and all you need to do is just click on the link with the product and it takes you directly to my shop. Now I want to put something in the middle, just to put a sentiment. Now the sentiment I'm going to use is something really simple: warm wishes for a happy Christmas. And what I want to do is stick that to the inside here. I know we kind of block out some of this, but it's not a particularly big sentiment, but I don't want it to go, I want it to go across here, but not further than the width of the card. So I need to make sure that my sentiment is probably no more. I think if I went central there, 3 inches by, let's go, yeah, 3 inches by 1 inch. So I'm going to get a piece of, I just got some scrap Blushing Bride here, and I'm going to trim that down to 3 inches. By 1 inch. And the other thing I'm going to do is find a bit of scrap paper. What I mean is scrap card, and this will measure 2 7/8 by 7/8, and we'll see how that matches there. Now while I think about it, share it on a Sunday, as I said, is when myself, Crafty Karen Designs and Vicky Lou Designs come together and we pick a theme, and then we each make something, and then we share each other's blog posts. So when you go to visit my blog, please make sure you go and visit their blog posts as well and have a look to see what they've made. So that is going to sit along there like that, so it doesn't block out too much of those baubles, but we do need to have a sentiment on it. The other thing I want to do as well, I think, is to round off those corners. So I'm looking for my corner rounder punch, or my detailed trio punch, which I'll find in a minute. Oh, there it is, on my shelf. And I'm just going to round off those corners. It just looks, I think, a little bit better. It's not rounded that off very well. Let's try that again. I might have to cut this again. Just sometimes that's better. Sometimes it doesn't grab it quickly enough because I haven't pressed down firmly enough. Let's try these again. That's better. Just needed a firmer hand. I'll just quickly round these off. Should have done this before I started filming, but I didn't. Right, I had to redo those because they were an absolute shambles and they went together first time. So that's, yeah, it's when you do things on camera, it knows and it mucks about. Right, I'm going to stamp on this. So I'm going to take the warm wishes for a happy Christmas. It's because it's really warm as well. I've not used this one before. It's still got the backing on it. So let's grab my block. And I want to stamp this in Misty Moonlight rather than black or... yeah, there isn't anything else that would match. It's got to be Misty Moonlight, I think. Right, let's hope there's enough room for this. Yep, there is just about. I did measure this before I did it. Oh, lovely. I was surprised myself when it stamps right first time. So what I'm going to do with that, and try not to smudge it, is I'm just going to stick that on there with mini Stampin' dimensionals. Got a brand new pack of these. I must have about 15 packs that are half started because I put them down, forget where I've put them, get a new pack out, find the original pack, then lose the second pack I opened. There's a moral of a story there somewhere, isn't it? Put your stuff away. That's boring, isn't it, to be tidy? Right, let's pop that on there. Try and get it central. Really difficult when you're not trying to get your head in the way of the camera. There we are, put that there. Now I think that needs a little bit of sparkle on it, so I'm in my sparkle drawer. And I have got, oh, look at these champagne rhinestones. I think these are still available. Be an absolute darn shame if they're not. I'm going to put one either side there. Let's just get the right size. Super pretty. Pop that there. I'll put that away. And then we'll stick that on there like that. Do you know what? Oh, there they are. I thought I'd lost them again. Now remember, this is just going here, so we don't want the dimensionals on the outside edge here. They need to come in a bit. So I'm going to put 4 on there, just in the middle, or sort of in the middle. And then pushing that down, deciding where you want to put it, and then getting it central. And there we go. There's your Christmas card. Something a little bit different, I think. And then somebody takes that out. Now you can just write on the back of it if you want to. Well, you have to write something on it, don't you? That's a bit daft of me, isn't it? But you could write it on the back. You could write it on either of these. So don't load that up too much. You should be able to write on that. Or you can write a sentiment on a piece of paper and then stick that to the back of your card. There's an alternative design for this card. You got that way. Or you could actually make something that way. And you could stick your sentiment here, but just on one side, and then it opens up and you've got something really nice in the middle, or you could have one here and one here. I've just come up with something already, haven't I? I've just seen that as I opened it. Something to try later. So I've got a piece of this left. So let's make another card. I've got a piece of A4 cardstock here, and I'm just going to make this into 2 separate cards. I've not got enough for 2 cards. So I'm just going to trim this down the middle of this. So this is UK A4, so it's 8 1/4 inches wide. So I'm just going to score this. Am I going to do it that way? No, I'm going to do it this way. Sorry. Long side at 5 3/4. And then at 4 1/8, I'm going to score. So there's our card base. So this measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. I'm going to take a piece of mint macaron cardstock, and I'm going to trim that down to 4 inches by 5 5/8. And then this piece of cardstock I'm going to trim to 3 7/8. I'm going to watch where I'm going to trim this. I'm actually going to go that way round. Let's see if I can get a better cut. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So 3 7/8. Yeah, see what I mean? I'm going to do another card with this in a minute. So we've got pretty much 3 baubles there that are complete. And then trim this to 5 1/2 this way round, so we get that one. So we've got those 2 pieces on there. And then with this, because I'm just not wasting any of this, that measures, I'm going to trim that down to 1 7/8. It is pretty much that actually, but let's just get it at 1 7/8. I think I'm going to have to put a new blade in there. And this is, I want this to be 2 inches. That is pretty much there. So this will measure 2 inches by 5 5/8. And this will measure 1 7/8 by 5 1/2. Now, let's see if I can get my detail trio punch to work properly again. I want to round off the opposite corners, and I think I'll do this one and this one. I don't think it matters. Right, behave yourself, detail trio punch. Thank you. And then make sure you do the opposite one. And you want to make sure that you do the same ones for your card. Again, just making sure that they are opposite. So that will fit on there like that. Really, really simple card making this. Super simple. So with the other half of this card that you had, need to make sure that we trim it down to 5 3/4, because A4 cardstock is not exactly 11 3/4. What am I doing? I'm doing that. 5 3/4. Just need to take a little smidge off. And then score at 4 1/8. And let's get these cards decorated. I had not intended to do 3 cards when I started this video, but you know me, I tend to go off plan. So let's start with this one. In fact, we'll do 2 at a time. Production line card making is great, especially if you're doing Christmas cards. Just like block out an afternoon, block out a day. Do your card bases first. Well, the first thing you should do is get a plan. Then put your card bases together. Then your card designs, start layering things up. So what we're going to do with this one, so we're going to put that on there like that. And for this one, I'm going to put that on there like that. And I'm going to create 2 identical sentiments. I'm just going to put those to one side. So I might need a couple of pieces of scrap of this card. I'll have to see how far it goes. Same size as we did before, 3 inches by 1 inch. So this is in mint macaron cardstock. Don't use this colour anywhere near enough. 3 inches by 1 inch. I want 2 of those, 1 for each card. And then I've had some scrap of white, there it is. Whoops, starting to chuck everything all over the place now. What am I doing? Oh yeah, no, not 3 inches, 2 7/8. And each of these is 7/8 of an inch. And I'm going to stamp again in Misty Moonlight, just because it's nice and dark and will stand out. There we go. Now, the second card, well, third card I was making, you know, I rounded off opposite ends. I want to do the same with these as well. Now I want to make sure that I follow the same pattern as the other one. Oh, it worked. Tempting fate. I think this doesn't work as well with smaller pieces. Oh, that did work. Right. So what we're going to do, just make sure first you know what you're doing, and then stamp. So Misty Moonlight again. I love this blue. I mean, when it comes to blue, Night of Navy is my favourite, but ever since Misty Moonlight came out, I tend to use that a bit more. It's just a little bit softer. Right. Line it up as best you can and stamp. Now our other one, what shall I do with that? I'm just going to see. Oh, I don't think it will. I think I'm really tempting fate now. I'm going to use this one, this kind of filigree type thing. If it doesn't work, I'll just cut out another piece. Oh, look at that. Getting really excited about a piece of card. Now I could have... oh, I don't know. No, that's probably not what I wanted to do. No, ditch that, Donna. I should never just really think of things off the top of my head while I'm filming. It doesn't work. It does not work. So let's just quickly do this again. 1 inch. By 3 inches. I just think it's boring like that. It does need rounding off. There's no doubt about that. It's got to be rounded off. I'll just quickly do that off camera because it's really boring to watch. Okay, so I quickly did that off camera so this video doesn't end up being 4 hours long. And I'll just quickly stamp that. So nothing too difficult for this video. It's to show you that you don't have to have loads of kit, you don't have to have loads of stamps. I'm using a selection of paper, both of which comes from the Subtle collection. So you can buy some cardstock from the Subtle collection, so both the Blushing Bride and the Mint Macaron. Perhaps a pack of A4 white. We've just used 1 ink and 1 pack of DSP. Where am I? God, you put them down and they just disappear. There they are. Oh dear, it's getting too late and it's too warm. I know there are parts of the world that are even warmer than we are today, but we're not used to it here in the UK. We get about 4 days of warm weather, then we get about 3 days of thunderstorms, then we just go back to it being really cold. That's the British summer. Right, just trying to line that up on there. Like that, that could have been better. So let's get these lined up. I need to get this on here before that glue sets, otherwise it just you can see the glue underneath the paper. So you need to get it on, you need to get it smoothed down as quickly as possible when the weather's this warm. I'm going to put that on there. Now if you've got other sentiments for Christmas, please use those inside. I don't tend to keep a stash of Christmas sentiments. That's just my own personal choice. So I tend to have a stack of sentiments in one stamp set. And I might have 1 or 2. That one, I've only got the 1. And then you just decide where you're going to put this. And I'm just going to put it right in the middle. Now I think this is a project that's ideal for kids. If you want children to, or even older children, to make their Christmas cards for school. Kids love to take Christmas cards in for their friends or for their teacher. And I think the art of making Christmas cards is dying out, and we need to revive it. So I'm putting this here so we don't cover too many of those baubles. So I'm just going to stick that there, like that. So we've got 2 Christmas cards so far. Let's just quickly finish with this one. Again, I've got another half an hour video. Not my intention, but you know, if you don't mind, or if you've scrolled along a bit, I don't mind that either. I'm just grateful that people come along and say hello, even if they literally just pop in. I'm just going to pop that in the corner. And if you didn't want to make a sentiment, you could just stamp straight onto that. But we have made a label for that. So just very quickly, some mini Stampin' dimensionals on the back of that. I wouldn't be without these little mini Stampin' dimensionals. I love them. They're my favourite piece of kit. If they ever got discontinued, I would actually cry. And I'm just going to put that there like that. And again, more of these. It takes ages to get through them all. Don't think I'm wasting them. It does take absolutely ages to get through the lot. In each pack of dimensionals, you get 3 sheets. I just want to sit it. In fact, I'm going to put it here because I don't want to, oh, I don't know. Oh, just do it, Donna. Just stick it down. There we go. So there's our first one. Super simple but so pretty. When you've got pretty DSP like that, you don't need anything complicated. Slightly bigger sheet of it with your sentiment in the middle. And then we've got our stand-up card there. So I hope you like that. I hope that gives you some inspiration for some cards. I'll leave the link to the video where I showed you all of the paper from the new mini catalogue that comes out in August. I'll leave that in the description bar. And if you've got any comments or any questions, please either head to my blog where you can contact me from there, or leave a comment in the comments here on YouTube. Thanks again for joining me. See you again soon. Bye bye.